on record. So, okay,
Sure.
I will be sharing my screen. PowerPoint. There. Are you able to see my screen now? You're supposed to see a PowerPoint slide.
Yes, hold on. I'm using cell phone eh, so okay. Sige. Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, great. So just a recap. So we are now in week 2, and for the past 2 weeks, we've learned the interface of the RStudio. We were familiarized with the basic operations, multiplication, addition, modulo, exponent. We're also familiar with the different types of data, yung integer, numeric,
Yeah.
strings,
Vectors.
vectors.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, data structure yung mga vectors. So,
Data frame, oo.
so we
I wasn't able to watch the loop video. For some reason, hindi siya nagpa-play eh. So, kaya hindi ko magawa yung challenge today.
Okay, no problem. No worries. I can't recall what's the challenge today.
It's a loop. It's a factorial loop.
Yung sa loop. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, no, but the loop was a topic like 2 days ago. So
yeah, day 9. I couldn't watch the video. I was trying to play it again kanina. I don't know if internet connection or something.
Okay, no worries.
So
we have the logical operations. Then we had subsetting data, data frames, vectors, functions, very important in our programming. Conditional statements, because the conditional statements would determine what type of function a program would run. And then, of course, we had a loop function. So looking forward, the next 2 weeks, the next week, we'll be studying how to load and save files. And there is a package that you will be learning called the deep layer package, which is very, very important when you want to cleanse your data and manipulate your data. And we'll do some data simulation. And week 4 will be relatively flexible. That's the time you get familiar with the Shiny package. And hopefully at the end of week 4, you're able to design your own data product or app. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So we have another participant who joined in. I'm not sure kung sino siya. Hello, good evening. Sino po sila?
Paano ba ito?
Hindi ko makita. Sige. Okay.
Captain Puffy Pants.
Mary, wait.
Oh, may baby.
Captain Puffy Pants. Puffy Pants.
So,
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's Giselle. Okay. I heard the daughter. Okay. Thank you for joining in. Oh, wait. Nawala yung screen. So, just some tips. So, for the R editor, try to use the code editor portion when you write your files so that you get to run it. Di ba, Pam, ito yung nagiging initially na later on mo na-realize?
Yep.
So, sa editor. Another tip, as a good practice, when you do a function, preferably, the function should return a data that is similar to the class of what you inputted. So, for example, if your function is about, let's say, income tax, ideally, mas preferred if your the return value of the function is also of the same data type. So, if you put in a number, mas maganda kung input i-return niya is a number. Just as mas preferred siya because in the In the future sessions, you might have several series of functions, and the purpose of the function is to convert a data and then feed it to another function. So let me just pause that, and then I'll share my R screen para mas maintindihan. Where is my R Studio? Okay, so this is the R Studio. So do you see the R Studio on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just to reiterate what I've said, I'll open some files. Hold on. Day 8 yata yan. Okay, so day 8. So in this case, so apologies pala dun sa day 8 na binigay kong problem. Sabi ko for the first 8 hours, dapat 16 hours yan for 16 hours. But in this case, yung function, if I run that function, say, so that function, notice when I run it, charge 20, when I input 20, the function will also return a number. So it would be good practice when you do a function to have that function return the same data class type of what is inputted. So that's a good practice. And then, okay, next topic is about functions can also have, pwede kang gumawa ng function na wala siyang argument. So that is possible. Let me just give an example. But normally, most of the functions that we have will always have an argument or an input that it is evaluating. So let me just open one. Hold on. Let me just open one. This one is, we will discuss that later on in the 11.
Judel,
Yes.
I'm looking at your screen before on the challenge on day 8. I'm just noticing na different, pwede pala siyang ganun na parang step by, hindi formula style.
Yung what you mean? Sorry.
Yun yung dito yung sa excess hours. Yung else if
Which one?
The one you showed first. Yeah, yung else yung on the number of hours yung challenge, yung extra challenge that you sent before for day 8. I just noticed kasi yung the functions that you, well, the script that you put in, hindi siya hindi siya like, kasi I was recalling what I did before. So
this one naka-embed.
Pwede pala siya.
Mas maganda siya kung naka-embed na siya dito. So one-stop shop siya. So you just say charge 180. Automatic ibibigay na niya na one. So it's embedded in the function. So that click mo lang, mabibigay na niya yung value. So
okay.
ng conditions.
May mga conditions. It's equation, siya, hindi yung less than or equal. Okay, sige.
May less than siya dito. The first argument niya is ours is less than 16. Ang rate na babayaran niya is 20. Actually, yung the way na binigay yung problem, actually the first 16 hours, i-charge niya 20. After ng 16, i-charge na siya ng 18. So, starting mo, so pwede din yun kung ganun yung pero if you look at the exact na sinabi dito, anytime in excess of 16 hours, you charge at a rate of $18 per hour. So which means that the first 16 hours will be charged $20. So that's why if you look here, ang formula ng rate ng less than 32 will be 16 times 22, times 20, because the first 16 will be charged with the $20. And then anything in excess of 16 will be charged with 18.
Okay, mali yung intindi ko doon sa But sige. Okay, got it.
Anyway, it's okay as long as yung objective naman is you're familiar with how to run
the functions. Okay, sige. Thank you.
So here, I'll show you, here's an example of a function. There's a line here. So test is a function, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and then print hooray. So notice wala siyang argument. So it's possible that you can also create a function na wala siyang argument. So if I run that, naka-embed na siya that test is a function. So for example, so notice when I run this, when I put the cursor here and I click on run, the console will read it, which means that test is now a function that's inputted in the system. And you can also notice na nandito na siya nakalagay. Nandito siya as one of the functions in the global environment. So since that function is now available, if I put test and then just click enter, sasabi lang siya ng hooray. Okay, so wala kang argument, hooray lang. So in test2 is another function, but this time ang purpose ng function na to, it will just return a number 2. Okay, so if I click on run, so if I just test2, and then it will just return the value 2. So that's just an example na, but normally the functions that we do, there's usually an argument. Okay, an argument, you input something. So notice, for example, just to test, kunwari itong test, lagyan natin ng argument sa loob, test2, it will give an error because the way this function was designed, it was not supposed to handle any argument. Okay? Sige. Questions? Okay, next. Itong classes of data. Okay, yung classes of data. So there was an assignment that was given in day 11, okay, about building a data frame. And one was the question was, what happens if this line $weight is not made into an integer? Okay, so I will run this. Okay, this one was given on day 11. I will run this, but this time I will put first a hashtag on this one. Hindi babasahin niya as integer. What will happen is that, okay, so we now have a data frame E. I'll just put here in console E. So there's a data frame. But if I look at the class of E, if I run that, notice that the data type of name, age, weight, and blood type were understood by the system as factors. So when the data type is factor, you cannot easily make meaningful analysis. So for example, if I run this, E bracket E $age less than 25, on the hoping na sana ang ibibigay ng data will be age, everything is age less than 25. When I run that, it will give me a warning message because at this point, yung age was understood by the system to be a factor. So normally, when you convert an item into a data frame, initially, minsan, there's a possibility that R will read it as a factor. So, one way to check is kung yung data type mo is the intended. So, here we wanted our age to be read as an integer, and that's why we placed this command. $age is coerced to be an integer. And also the weight, we want that weight to be coerced as an integer. That's why we have those lines. So in the future, if you will encounter errors in terms of when you analyze your data, it might be possible that the class of data was classified by R into something else. There may be a factor. So normally, ang default niya is to be a factor. So all you need to do is just to change that data type into your desired data type. In this case, we wanted it to be an integer. And the rest will just run. So kailangan kong ipasok ulit pala to kasi kung hindi ko ito ipapasok itong mga numbers na ito, gagawin lang niya kasi initially was factor, gagawin niya 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why these two lines are also necessary. Okay, medyo might be difficult to understand at first, but you will get we will understand this when you will be dealing with as you get to practice data frames. Okay. So notice this time nung nilagay ko na yung class for all of the columns, the name is now still considered factor, but age and weight are now read as numeric. They're now considered as numeric data, and therefore we are able to do the subsetting. Okay. Question.
When you place day 11, actually yung may as integer was the age lang, no?
And even you can also make you also have to coerce
it as an integer. Pero when it ran, so it will show as columns. Pero when reading ba, parang ganon, it won't be read as a numeric or an integer kapag hindi siya na-label as integer. Tama ba?
It will still look like this one, the column. Maglalabas pa rin yung column. However, ang 15 is read as a factor. It's not a numeric. So, for example, i-run natin ulit. Ilalabas pa rin niya yan as E, but then ang basa niya is a factor. So, mangyayari, for example, yan. I-run ko yung E. Yan. Pag i-run ko na itong this part, E, lahat ng age less than 25, it will give me an error because ang basa
hindi niya mabasa.
Is a factor. Okay, that's why you need to kaya ko lang binibigay.
Okay.
That was one of my difficulty in the past. Analyze and data frame. It was because that the default understanding of R was that it was a data type of factor. So bear that when you encounter that in the future when you're doing some analysis on the data frame.
Okay. Noted. Thanks.
You're welcome. And now we go to the and or. Okay. So I guess lahat ng dapat kong i-discuss, conditional statements na nabigay ko na yan. Okay. So sa and or, pwedeng tama ka rin, Pam, but I have to ask you, ano intindi mo ng lahat ng data points that are not divisible by 2 or 3? So for example, let's say, in this case, A is 1, 2, 10. Okay, and I'll put A. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So if I say, so technically, if I want to remove all the numbers that are not divisible by 2 or 3, ano dapat ang maiiwan dito? Forget first one.
1, 5, 7. Tama?
Yes, precisely. So, ang ginawa mo kasing formula, it was understood by the system as not divisible. Dito ko na lang isulat siya dito. So, tama. So, yun yung natin, di ba? So, kasi, ang formula na ginawa mo, pero tama yung understanding mo, but the formula that you did was just not divisible by 2 or not divisible by 3.
Or not divisible by 3.
Tama yung formula mo. Pero yung the way that pareho tayo, it's not to be divisible by 2 or div by 3. Okay? So divisible by 2 or divisible by 3, tanggalin siya. So what happened was, technically, na double count yung ginawa mo, kaya yung sum mo, because meron ka ang naisama niya na yung not divisible by 2 pero or 3, so ang 6 which is divisible by both 2 and 3 was included. And an explanation, if you recall dun sa mga Venn diagram setup, may nalala ko sa math, A union B is actually equal to
intersection, yeah.
Minus A intersection B. Parang ganon. So, kaya, nasobra yung sum.
Actually,
so here, if we run now the resolution, okay? So, technically, so kung let's say sa 10 muna tayo na sample, ano? So, ito sa sample na A. Okay. So A assign natin siya sa B. A bracket A not, kasi ang nilalagay mo yung not doon sa before not equal to oops, ano nangyari? Sorry. Not equal to 0. So if I put B, lahat ng hindi divisible by 2 tinanggal niya. So ang C, so C is A bracket A modulo 3 bracket equal 0. So C. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So ang nangyari, where was I headed? Wala yung 6. Basta in a way, parang naisama mo yung 6, which is the intersection of A and B. So
actually,
sige,
what I understood, when I first read the equation, ang ginawa ko talaga is intersection. Kasi, of course, I first understood it as not divisible by 2 or 3, na lahat ng divisible by 2 or 3, tanggalin.
Yes.
Parang intersection, oo. Pero, yun nga sabi ko, baka nag-overthink ako that it can, kasi pwede kasi siya, di ba, na parang either union siya ng or, kasi if yun nga, yung binasa ko kasi
2 or not divisible by 3. Isasama niya yung not divisible by 2.
Oo, isasama niya talaga, oo. Kasi naging union siya.
Kaya ka na double, but yung intention doon was not divisible by 2.
So parang intersection talaga. So parang your statement
not isama mo muna yung dalawa to, tapos yung not sa outside. Yung sa'yo, tama siya kung ganito, not 2 or not 3. Pero kasi ang not 2 or not 3, ang not 2 or not 3, masasama niya yung 2 and 3. Kaya mas sobra yung sum mo.
Yes.
Factor of 6. But kaya nga kita tinanong, so if this is the intention, not 2 or 3, then it would have to be like this. A, so let's say A is 1 to 100. That's it. Sorry. A is 1 to 100. A. Tapos, A, paano nga ba yun? Nagawa na ako din. So, parang A, not 2 or 3. So, it has to be A.
Not divisible.
A.
Exclamation point.
$2 equals 0.
0.
Or A $3 equal 0. So these are the divisible.
Yeah.
Not yan.
Oo.
Then yan. Oops. So it's not that one. Which will give that value. Outside. Okay. So
or siya. Oo, kasi
or pa rin siya sa loob, pero yung not outside. Not 2 or 3. So that's why it's 163. Pero yung ginawa mo, it's not 2 or not 3. Which is tama. If you're, ganun yung intindi mo. Not 2 or not 3. Kasama niya yung 6, yung mga intersection ng 2 and 3.
At, kasi yung use ng ampersand nga at yung line. Kasi yun nga, in the previous lessons, there's a difference with the ampersand and line. Ba yung and or.
Yes.
So sabi ko, there might be difference.
Pero kasi, tama yung paggagamit mo ng or. Kasi, so kunwari, if your B now is dito, A, ganyan, A, Iba, magiging iba yung not equal to 3. Okay. Sorry, not equal to 0. Ito, ang basa nito is A not divisible by 2 or A not divisible by 3.
Yes.
Which will include now those that are divisible by 2 and 3. Kaya mas mataas yung...
Sa union siya, parang ganon.
Which can be seen if we like B. Dito, ay hindi, nasama yung 2. Bakit? Weird, nasama ngayon ang 4.
Kasi nga, it's a union eh. Yung line is a union. If you put it an ampersand, it will give you
End naman to, end.
And
not divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3.
yes.
O ano, pareho siya dun.
Yan.
Not divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3.
Yes. We'll give you the 1633.
Equivalent to not divisible by 2 or 3, pero yung 2 and 3 was inside the not. So tama yung
So kayo yun.
So tama yung mo kung yung intindi mo is not 2 or not 3.
Oo. Kasi or ginamit mo, hindi end.
Hindi, pero ito, if you look here, or this one is or.
Oo.
This one was or.
Yeah, this is or. That's why it gave me ay sa taas, Pero yun nga.
Yan. Which is
the same as end as well. Pero
the original intention of kaya kita tinanong kung ang gusto mo is masama yung 2 and 3. Okay? So usually ang kwanan diyan,
yep. Okay.
Ang technique lang diyan is just look at what the data is giving. Sometimes if it makes sense or it doesn't, it just might be quick in the operations. Anyway, at least you know the process of subsetting, which was originally effective naman of that exercise.
Yes.
Okay. So I hope that's done. Alam ko.
Yes. Clear naman yan.
Okay, great. Other questions on R at this point?
Ano ba yun? Yung naging ko kanina. It's more of the formula writing yung code writing talaga. Yung
ang tip ko dyan actually, if meron ako isang successful code, I save it so that I have a template to refer to when I want to do it.
Yeah.
This is like for example, even if I start from scratch and I do the for function, if function, I still get an error. So if I save a standard template, it's just easy for me to
change,
to what you call this, to modify.
Yeah, kasi when I try to copy paste, it doesn't work So I have to type it back again. Then the spaces, nag-error siya
Maybe you're copying and paste it from the console, but if you're copying it from R, here for example, new file, if you copy it from here, it should be fine.
From another,
from a text editor.
Yung should be nga.
Should be, but if it's coming from the console, it will not work kasi isasama niya itong mga brackets. So I would suggest save it on the, that's why it's really advisable to write all your codes in the editor and then run it so that you can save and copy.
When you run a whole thing, like yung kanina, do you highlight to run all or do you click per line to run?
No, kasi ito, nirun niya to lahat because ang charge na to was because it is bracket.
Kasi connected siya.
Oo. Pero kung separate yan, then you have to run one by one.
Each, one by one, okay.
So that's why this one was really handy because I just click run, tatakboy na niya lahat yan.
Yung return rate, bakit siya may ganun?
Return is gumagana lang siya inside the function. So which means that a return is a function in itself that will give you out of the input, that will be the output. So the output of this whole function will be the rate. That's the meaning of return rate. The function will do all the logic and it will return the variable rate. So in this case, if we have to analyze this one, charge is a function of ours, which means our input is ours. So may open if for this the input ours was used as a condition. If ours is less than or equal to 16, then it will evaluate it. Notice that now ours, which is an input, will multiply itself to 20, and then it will become the rate. So if true, we now have a rate. Hindi na niya ito i-run because this one already meets that condition. So therefore, it will skip this step, this step, this step. You have the rate. It will return the rate. So that's the purpose of that.
Pero pwede din siyang wala.
Pwede siya print rate, but I would prefer as a good practice, return rate. You give an input, I will return you an output.
Okay.
In the future, especially if you're doing now the app, there will be series of functions. One function will call the other. So it's good practice to at least use a return, and then that return ideally should be of the same data class as the input. In most cases, but there will be cases wherein that the output will be of a different data type. Gusto mo na mag-print out ng isang statement, and one of the answers is embedded. Then in that case, you're allowed to do yung mga paste na yun.
Okay. Sige. Medyo overwhelming pa sa memory ko lahat ng terms but yeah, I will get the hang of that.
You're doing it right. Yun lang, yung i-caution ko lang at na if possible, use it as the return first is the same value. Para mahirapan when you go to the app portion. Kasi
app actually. Okay.
There will be probably, we might be doing 3 functions, and one of the functions will call one of the functions, and then so it would be good practice to use yung.
Okay, sige. Mas mano ko yan kapag na-apply ko na siya.
But so far, you're one of the more advanced ones. You're ahead with compared to the rest.
Yay! Thank you.
Other questions? Giselle, you have a question? Giselle, nakamute siya siya. Or I can unmute you if you want.
Yes. None at the moment. Sumagot kaya siya.
Sumagot.
Sa chat.
Haven't reached the 11, but not at the moment. Okay, great. Sige, no worries. Okay, so with that, if no more questions, I say thank you very much for joining in, and good luck for the remaining 2 weeks. I'm so excited for you to come.
Hey.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a nice.
Thank you, Judel. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you. I'll try to catch up.
Okay. Bye-bye.